Hello everyone, and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. We have another community cast for you guys today, submitted by Deck Cheney's mom, who is, I think, a pseudonym for the player Husky Actual, who has his own YouTube channel. I highly recommend you go check that out as well, if you're interested in this sort of thing. And this is ranked, so he is matched up against a major. Now, it is worth pointing out here that Husky Actual is, I believe, usually either a major or lieutenant colonel. So this sergeant major rank is unusual for him, so this is more of a fair matchup than it may seem in terms of player skill. Now, he is starting with 2 command vehicles. This is pretty common for this map for Hell in a Very Small Place because of the +2 zones, where 30 points a minute to your opponent is never something you want to really let them have. So you can see right now, his opponent, whose name I'm sorry I am not able to read, is already going for that +2 zone as well. It kind of is just, it's a mutual reduction of your opener, usually. Now, some people won't do that, particularly if they're going with the rush strategy, but that's just something you can watch out for as well. If there's no +2 cap, keep in mind your opponent has more points on the board than you do if you go for +2 cap. Now, we did see a ninja over here, and I think it is worth looking at. This should be, I believe, Dutch-German Corps. Could be mechanized. We haven't really seen any heavy tanks. We'll take a look at the veterancy of some of the infantry. Oh, hard to tell. Hard to tell. Yeah, okay, this is probably mechanized because of the high veterancy grenadiers. And that ninja did take a little bit of fire, but is getting out with 1 point of strength left. Always a little bit annoying to see that happen. And my usual deal here is I have not viewed this, but Husky actually showed me this one over Discord beforehand. So I have seen this game, and it gets a little bit kind of crazy. It's not really what I would expect from, I guess, the other major in particular, because this is an ATGM being launched from Echo. Now, usually what happens on this map, from what I've seen anyway, is that blue will want to take this town. And the reason is, while not impossible, it is really difficult to retake this town from the blue force out of the field. Now, the reason for that, there's a couple, but the main one, oh, Kimar Shiki. Yeah, wow, okay, that's big. The reason is, this bridge is really not approachable, I guess you could say. If the Red 4 player secures this side of that bridge, there's going to be ATGMs coming from these woods, blocking all of this off. There's going to be usually some anti-air over here as well. It just denies a lot of helicopter usage around this side. Basically means that you have to go down from the left. Well, from the left from our perspective here, the right, I guess, from the Blue 4 perspective. And it just gets really ugly. So the Natra being sent forward by Husky Actual, by Deck Cheney's mom, are just a probing thing to make sure that the Blue 4 major is not doing anything sneaky, and just to confirm that he is, in fact, turning, as Husky told me, turning Echo into the Alamo in the early game, which is a little bit of an odd choice. Now, Nekov 106mm, this is a little bit of a wraparound. It's an attack you'll see often from the Red 4 side. Usually it's more of to establish control in Bravo, but if your opponent is being a bit of a turtle, I guess sometimes you can get away with it. Gets kind of minced by helicopters here, and I think this is where it is worth pointing out that, board control aside, most of the kills so far have gone to the Blue 4 major, unless I'm mistaken about that, but I think the ninja got away, so it should be pretty true. And in a long, drawn-out game on a small map, that can be very impactful, so we'll see if it makes a difference here. I worry, I worry, I guess, about the Blue 4 major a little bit, just because this section of woods is critical, this town is critical, and losing both of those really locks you out of fighting over Foxtrot. So if you take a look back at the zones that we have available to us, we have Golf on the right, Foxtrot in the middle, Bravo on the left, and I'm sure, as most of you guys who've played on this map know, the back and forth over Fox, the back and forth over Golf in particular, they really matter a lot. And because of the attack on the left, I think a lot of people find that Red 4 has an advantage on this map, but if that's not taken, I would argue that should that not be taken, Blue 4 then gets an advantage because of how easy it is for them to get to Bravo, as opposed to the Red 4 side, which has to go all the way over here, down this road, across the bridge, through the woods, all the way to Bravo, while Blue just goes right from their land reinforcement, bridge, into Bravo. Very short. So it's sort of opener versus long-term success, I'd say, on this one, and I'm happy to hear if people disagree as well. I am, of course, not the most highly skilled player of this game ever to grace the earth. It's just my 2 cents. So, Fallschirmjäger 90, back in the far part of Echo, and this is a nasty surprise. They probably have the range, I'd say. The Panzerfaust 3, 700-meter range, can definitely see to this highway. Most reinforcements will be coming down the farther highway, but it will still catch a couple things off guard, particularly if they're going to reinforce Echo, or if they're maybe headed into Golf, or you'll take that farther back road. Yeah, I don't know, it's a little bit tricky. They'd kind of have to go into Echo instead of even into Golf. Golf will come up this way and probably cross the bridge here and go across. So, Panzergrenadier 90, and it looks like the Blue 4 Major is trying a later opener, I suppose, not late game, push into Charlie, which, this is going to be pretty rough. So the setup here, the Panzergrenadier 90, the Martyr 2s from Husky Actual, well, I'll just call him Deck Cheney's mom, is very nice. The Martyr 2 shooting across the open ground, deny a lot of that force to the Blue 4 player, and the Panzergrenadier 90, if they're moved away from that mortar anyway, will absolutely maul any sort of Blue 4 armor that gets across into this section. So you effectively turn these two forces into a death trap for most things. Not everything, but certainly most things. And adding to that is the AMX Pratt. Now, 25-point vehicle, and most of the ATGM vehicles are not often used. This one I can see the argument for it. 3 frontal armor, full range ATGMs, only 15 AP power, but if you look at the angle where these things are trying to go, they're looking for side armor. So this is a brutal strategy that I'm certainly going to use later myself, so I was happy to see this. I've never really thought of it before, and I never really take things like the AMX Pratt, but it certainly seems like a good option from time to time. Now, KFV 25's Kiyomaru Shiki, this is interesting. You can see the Blue 4 Major is trying to smoke off the Kiyomaru, and not all that much smoke, but certainly a little bit, and we do lose vision on it there, or rather, Deck Cheney loses vision on it there. Not sure what the Peace Shrine was doing. Yeah, actually, the 3 frontal armor on the AMXs are able to survive those rocket pods better than most. Not forever, certainly, but better than most. Yeah, this is goofy. I don't know, it's just so hard to push this, even with Kiyomaru Shiki, even with all of that support. It's just really tough. And yeah, the Kiyomaru took out a couple Martyr 2s. Panzergren here are getting a little bit tired, but there's not all that much anti-air up here. And this escort is able to defend them back. Leopard cannon on the side as well. Watch out for that. If they come up over here, they can often get a side shot if you're on the Blue 4 side and are retreating across that open gap. So, just a tough situation, bit of a brawl at the moment, and yeah, definitely DGC mech, I would say. There's a Tansem short arrow, okay. And even with the range though, this is still wonky for line of sight issues just because of all the trees, and if the escort goes into low hover, which it was, now we're lifting off, might be a target for that short arrow. Yep, aiming, okay, out of range or a line of sight blocked, one of the two. A little hard to say. Yeah, this is brutal. This is why holding Fox is so hard if you don't have Golf. Leopard 2A1 can just sit there and shoot, and then the Martyr 2 coming up across the side. You can effectively attack in from most of the zone, and even if that Leopard 2A1 does die here, you got a lot of value, and yeah, man. Yeah. Akioses. they'll troll both you and your opponent. My goodness gracious. I actually took these out of my DGC deck just because the base 50% accuracy for the point cost is a little disappointing, to say the least. Now, these False Jaeger 90 have done exactly what I said. They're fighting against KFV 25s and just retreating out because they are getting a little bit damaged there, but it's enough to disrupt, it's enough to panic somebody usually if they see that much in on their own side of the board. Peace Pheasant versus Peace Shrine, please get the kill. Oh man. Eos is out of ammunition, otherwise that probably would have been a kill, and Verkenning gets the Kiyomaru by the look of it. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. That's rough. That's very rough. I mean, the Kiyomaru was pretty damaged. Shouldn't be, I guess, the most surprising thing ever, and Escort killing the H1J. This is just a lot of things going wrong in a row for the Blue 4 player here. He will get some revenge by the look of it. Yep, there's the Peace Pheasant 2. But this is not the first Peace Pheasant 2 we've seen. The other one's damaged. It can't have come back in that early, so there's a lot of points in the air for the Blue 4 player, and that means, of course, fewer points on the ground. Right after losing a Kiyomaru Shiki, that has to hurt, and I can't imagine he has all that much of a board presence at the moment, which means that the play is going to be slow while he builds back up. And of course, slow play when you're down on board control is often when your opponent will start capping zones. Golf could be capped any time, and just get that +1 tick going for Deck Cheney's mom, which I guess is my only comment there so far. I would have done this prior, and I understand why not, because this did look pretty scary for a little bit, so this Troopin out here to defend is good, and I don't know, I probably would have gone for an early cap. I love early tick in most ranked games. It's often a problem if I call out, say, command vehicle and don't need to, but where it's good, it really is very helpful. So, Bolshevik looking for that last Panzerfaust, not able to get it in time. The KM-163 was what got the finishing kill there, 25-point anti-air available to Blue Dragons, and it's often doubling as a fire support piece just because the thing never reloads. Never. It'll fire its entire deck of ammunition all at once. It's pretty terrifying. Yeah. Well, okay. Need to get into the woods there. Yep, that's why. Expensive infantry to get shot out in the open like that. But, I mean, so far, a pretty dominant game here from Deck Cheney's mom. This is looking very good for him indeed. Would almost like to see a bit more aggression in response, but if you look at the front line, I don't really think there's any options for that. So that's something that the Peace Pheasant 2s did a pretty good job of dissuading by taking out the Leopard for Kenning, by taking out the Leopard 2A1 earlier on. That is going to be a little rough. Now, possibly one of my favorite planes in the entire game, the Block 52D, doubles as a seed plane and as an air superiority fighter and can be absolutely vicious to take out, especially when your KWS can't quite get the kill. Evac ordered. I doubt he's going to have time. Yeah, turning radius just a little too wide there on the KWS to make that turn, and that has to hurt. That just really has to hurt. Escort and Peace Run in quick succession, and I'd say that turnaround right there keeps the Blue 4 player still in the fight. It's a lot of points going down. It's 165 points between those two units. Kind of makes up for the Kiyomaru all in one go. Now this is goofy. If your opponent's playing mechanized, they probably have man pads, so this AH-1J should expect to see something like a stinger, but double miss off the 50% accuracy rolls is not great either. So there's been a couple of moments of, man, bad dice rolls, I guess is what you'd call it if it was on tabletop. But this still is looking pretty fragile. We have Panzergren 90, we have Stutrip in 95 here. Don't love the F-104G buy. I know what he's trying to do with it is clear out the H-1Js. But I will be surprised if this guy gets out, even if he gets the kill. And it's a 55-point helicopter. Let's see. I guess not too much fire. I thought there was anti-air back here. Could be not resupplied. Always resupply your anti-air, guys. Always, always, always. Every single day and twice on Sunday. You will need it more often than you think. Way more often than you think. That's a rough miss. Even if it gotten a hit, I'm not sure would have gotten the kill there. Yeah, 13. Ooh. That worked, I think, because it was rear armor, so that's 1 armor instead of 2. Otherwise, you need 16 heat to 1-tap 2 armor, so that would have been a 1 armor shot there for the full kill. Nice use outrun. That was the last shot, too. Yeah, fair enough. Now this I do really like. So the Leopard 2A1 coming forward, this is the heavy armor punch that Cheney's mom needs right now. Oh my goodness. A little bit of a troll name there, my friend, but I guess I've seen worse. And recently, too, so... you know, not the end of the world. Oh, man. Yeah. So, I guess I'm kind of surprised. Most mechanized decks have just a ton of numbers, and whenever I play them, which admittedly I'm not the best mechanized deck player, but I just throw reservists everywhere to accompany something like the 2A1. There's a Peace Pheasant 2 looking for him already, and that has to be just huge pressure. Look at that. Not able to get his missiles away. KWS gets the kill. That's a nice trade. But even just having that plane out did scare away that 2A1, and now there's pressure into the zone. KFV-25s and Hudauren, and the unfortunate thing is that Stutrippen not using their AT-4 against that expensive infantry fighting vehicle. Could have been a kill there, could have been a lot more. Oh, okay, Panzergren 90 got it. Yeah, wow. These guys are terrifying. I mean, 24 armor piercing, I know they're slightly better now, but wow, that is pretty scary. It's just, yeah, oof. Okay, this is good. Another Peace Pheasant too, holy cow. I think the Blue 4 Major might be taking 2 cards of them just because I think that's 3 that have died so far. Something around there. Yeah, every one of them is a 90-point kill. So even though there is tick right now on the Blue 4 side of the board, this is an expensive strategy. And if it doesn't pay off in the early game, that is going to be one heck of a hard thing to recover from. So we're going to go to ×2 speed here for just a minute, as my guess is things are going to stable out a little bit. Now, I'd like to see the Panzergren 90 resupply, but this is perfect. MX-13 FL-12s have recon, they have fast rate of fire, they will make mincemeat out of all of the infantry fighting vehicles and other infantry that the Blue 4 player might be sending down. The only worry that these guys have are enemy heavy tanks, and they can definitely lose to those very quickly. Of course, they do sling kinetic, though, so they can still get kills on armor, particularly at close range. It's what makes them, I think, a particularly good choice for this side of the board, where they're shooting way smaller ranges the maximum range, and so their kinetic armor piercing value will go up. But that looks like something that wants to take that fight. 1 shot, 1 kill. Yeah, that has to be... Ooh, that's another Kiyomaru Shiki. Yeah, okay. Oh man, that's unfortunate. I would have done the exact same thing. I would have made the exact same buy for the exact same reason. So I'm with you there, man. I would have lost those guys too. It's just, you don't expect to see a second Kiyomaru Shiki necessarily like that before the Blue 4 player has established a bit more of a presence here. and particularly when so many infantry have been dying trying to get this position. It's just, wow. Sometimes I swear that my opponents, it feels like they have just more points than I do, and what it ends up being is that they have more points forward than I do, right? So instead of backline options, they're buying planes that fly down into my zone. Instead of mortars and artillery, they're buying more infantry, more tanks, everything like that. And there's just so many heavy plane buys from the Blue 4 player. Holy cow. Yeah, if it works, I suppose, but the KWS taking a risky engagement here, just looking to finish off those Peace Pheasant 2s, but might trade into the, trading into the KF-16C, and that has to hurt. I mean, good use out of the Red 4 air superiority fighter. I guess not really Red 4, it's blue on blue here, but the red player, I suppose. So, not the worst trade in the world. Of course, taking out 2 of those Peace Pheasant 2s does pay for himself pretty well, and more importantly, it secures the field right now for Deck Cheney's mom, where he needs that 2A1 to be operating here, almost needs the Martyr 2 reaching out right there to get that higher rate of fire, killing those Yevagon and K200s, because 2A1s, well, heavier tanks in general, they'll one-shot, one-kill, anything like that, but not if there's competition involved. This is exactly what people do. They bring out chaff, and they have a heavy tank behind it, and that 2A1 is definitely outclassed by another Blue 4 Kiyumaru Shiki, and that's just causing a retreat. Now, I do like that Golf is capped, Bravo is of course capped for blue, and this could be a time to counter-cap it, I would say, as well. But the second Hawkios buy, certainly a good buy, with the heavy Blue 4 plane presence. Plus, the Block 52D that I said is Air Superiority Fighter and Seed, so anti-radar, just dies to Hawkioses, because these guys are of course non-radar, and they are still comparatively long range. They just have to get a couple hits in, and oftentimes you'll need 2 volleys in order to get those hits, instead of 1 where you get sort of luckier with higher base accuracy anti-air pieces, or you'll double tap off the first volley. Pretty low odds of that with 2 Hawkioses. It's just not in the cards, really. I mean, it'll happen, sure, but we can do the math on it, and the math is not great. 50% base accuracy running into 50% electronic countermeasures, and a little bit of veterancy on top. Each hit's about, I don't know, maybe 30% chance. So it should happen about 1 time in 10 off that. Just back of the envelope calculation there. Just keep that in mind. And even with 2 volleys, it's still not a likely kill, right? So, oh man, math is fun. So, Yevagon getting stunned out in the open. They should probably be pushing in here. But this is another... Oh, yep, there's the Block 52D again. This is another goofy situation. So, there's smoke here, there's smoke there. I don't know... Did we already... Oh, no. We might have already missed it. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Alright, so looking at the field right now, I'd cap Bravo. And I would bring in some Astute Troop in probably to over here, and cap Foxtrot. And even if he does still have stuff in the zone, make him countercap it. You know, make your opponent spend those points, make your opponent attack in here. Attacking sideways into Fox is really easy to counter, because any heavy tanks that do that, right close to your air zone, any sort of infantry that does that, easy fire support, easy reinforcement line, a lot of quick kills could be had for that sort of thing. Oh, please get the kill. No, you can... Okay. Alright, I mean, it's Block 15 OCU, it's not a true air superiority fighter, just 2 AMRAMs. But forcing out another KF-16 buy from the Blue 4 player, and down he goes. Youch. That is an expensive kill. That's 135, I believe, points, maybe 145 even, for that lost plane, and he didn't get any value out of it. And I think if there's one thing I'd say for both players, there's been a lot of air losses that haven't really moved the needle on the ground, and that is just... It's expensive. It just gets so expensive. Holy cow. And think about it. Astute Troopin, 95. They're 20 points each. So you bring a double squad of those in 15-point infantry fighting vehicles. That's at least the norm. So it's 35 points per, 70 points for the double squad. You get 2 of those. So altogether 4 infantry and 4 infantry fighting vehicles for the same cost of one of those planes, give or take about 10 points or so. It's a lot of board presence, and that board presence right now, if those 2 Troopin were in Foxtrot and up into the top of Foxtrot, that would be really hard for blue to deal with, and it would stick around too. Each one of those has to be fought individually. Ooh, man, this is not a command vehicle. Interesting. So this escort's just looking for command vehicles, more than likely. Flying around, you have to get right on top of them sometimes if they have their gun off. But the punch against the Habyung 90, this is really good. It's expensive, 30-point infantry, and an F-15J that was not in before. So oftentimes, if you can force your opponent to buy things stupidly, it'll really benefit you in the long run. And stupidly might be a little bit harsh, but I guess rashly or impulsively make buys, and that F-15J was definitely one of those. Did not manage to kill the AH-64 escort, and died as well. So just by making this maneuver... Okay, yeah, that's gone. Just by making that maneuver, that 65-point helicopter won the fight for the Stu Troopin on the high ground, killed whatever it was up here, up in Foxtrot, forced out a 95-point plane buy that then died as well. So just good play. Just good play. That's why those sorts of dynamic plays can really get you an edge. Definitely. By the way, if you like Community Cast, if you want to have your own game featured, the Discord link should be in the video description. There was a problem with the old one, the new one should definitely work. Apologize if you have tried that and found it not really to be functional. They have a time limit, and I set one accidentally instead of saying never expire, but again, that should be fixed. Just join the Discord, send me your video, and I guess my only requirements for it are, well, if you can, tell me what deck you were using, what player you were playing as, otherwise I do have to guess, and sometimes I guess right, and if I don't know, I just won't do it. And then, if your opponent picks a name that's maybe a little bit too edgy, look, there are limits to what I can put up on a YouTube channel and feel happy to have my name on, so just keep that in mind as well. It hasn't usually been an issue, but there was one recently where I just couldn't, and I do apologize for that, but you know, it's my channel, it's my YouTube brand, such that it is. Even though it is a small channel, it's one that I'm very proud of, and well, everybody has their limits, I suppose. So I like this Stu Troopin up here on the high ground, the 2A1 going up here to support as well, should be able to shoot down into that plateau, and what's surprising is usually this would have found the Blue 4 command vehicle and cleared it out by now. You usually either have them over on the right hand side here or on that left side forest, but the Stu Troopin are in position, they'll see everything here. We had the escort right over top of that Blue 4 section of forest there, and no command vehicles, so where else could it possibly be? There aren't all that many places, but honestly, it's hard to think of those during the game. You're sitting there going, but it has to be here, maybe I just missed it. And oftentimes you'll think, oh, I just missed it, instead of, oh, it might be somewhere creative. So we'll see later on, but the command infantry for the Blue 4 team is actually down in this forest, which is so incredibly risky, it's crazy, because one push in from Red 4, and that's gone. And there's not really too much of a way to retreat it either, because retreating out of right here, you cross into this open ground, and it's just very, very risky. Okay, here it is. JSDF Rangers, Escort, and there's command infantry, Hambuhan, right there. So a little bit of spoilers just a couple of seconds early, but that was when it was spotted during the game as well. F-104G not able to get the kill, Peace Pheasant 2 looking for that 2A1 and gets it. So another Peace Pheasant 2 kill from Blue Dragons. If you see Blue Dragons, expect Peace Pheasant 2s. It is just brutal, nasty stuff to have to deal with, and they get kills way more often than you might think for the 26 armor piercing available on that plane. It's 4 missiles, and they tend to have decent accuracy anyway. That's my experience with it. I actually like them better than things like Peace Rhines. They're 10 points cheaper. They fire 4 times. Peace Rhines, I can't tell you the number of times I've rolled double miss. And yeah, it's not the most likely thing, but when it happens, it certainly hurts. So, is this moving? No, the command infantry is still alive. That's impressive. Yeah, fair enough. Of course, the JSDF Rangers won't be for very long if this escort has anything to say about it. Just outside the minimum range for those rocket pods by the look of it, but not able to get a second volley. And is that a dive? Is he going for the escort? No, okay. Yeah, no. It can't be. Doesn't even have air-to-helicopter missiles. That was just a gun run by the look of it. Huh. Desperate times, I suppose. Now, Bravo has been counter-capped with Fox capped as well. Well, currently counter-capped, that's a +1 for Deck Cheney's mom, and he does have a bit of a point gap to make up for. This is what I said earlier on, getting that early tick can mean something. There's 13 minutes left in the game, and of course with an 80-point lead, Deck Cheney's mom needs a +1 for about 6 to 7 minutes in order to win. Maybe 7.5 or so. And that, I mean, he has twice that amount of time almost, but it still is a bit of pressure, and he really needs to clear Foxtrot. Because you go from a +1 to a +2, all of a sudden you're in good shape. There's the Hambuhan taken out, +2. Now there's plenty of time, there's all the time in the world to even potentially win the game. Well, no, it's going to be out of reach with the +2. 300 points every 10 minutes? Yeah, so he's not going to win the game on points unless he clears one of the other zones, which doesn't seem likely after this much of a fight, but the escort getting a couple of hoot out end, does have to watch out. Short arrow up on the high ground, was spotted earlier, never died, so you do have to be aware of that sort of thing, but it's easy to lose track of, particularly if you do like helicopters as much as Deck Cheney's mom appears to, which is something they're really good. The escort is amazing. It's just not a style of play that I'm very good with. That's why you don't see it a lot on my replays. It's actually part of why I like having these community casts, is you'll see things that I either don't know how to do, don't feel comfortable doing, tend to just lose horribly when I do, and therefore I don't really go for them. But look at this, KF-16C, KF-16C, Block 52D, and the blue 4 player's losing on the ground. What does that really accomplish at this point? Right? I know I'm harping on it a lot, but I'm harping on it a lot because it was a trap that I fell into as a new player. And as a trap I still fall into from time to time. Maybe when I'm more just having fun than trying to win, shall we say, but certainly from time to time when you get frustrated and you are trying to win, it can still turn into a bit of a temptation that you don't necessarily ignore as much as you should. Now, there was a particularly funny moment in this match. It's the reason that Duck Cheney's mom sent me this replay, and again, Husky Actual is his main account, and he does have a YouTube channel that you should definitely check out if you like Wargame content. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's older than mine by a significant margin, I think. At least in terms of Wargame content, so I'd be surprised if you guys haven't had the opportunity to go look at it before, but definitely check it out again. Stinger moving up, H1J, just so many air assets, man. So many. And what kills me too is that Blue Dragons anyway, has a lot of good infantry. Hudaran are amazing, the Habyong 90 are amazing, Yevagun are even, I mean, they're standard infantry, but the K200 is pretty decent with 2 guns for 5 points and 2 frontal armor. It's no Israeli Zelda, but it certainly is capable in its own right, and I would have just loved to have seen a coordinated mass counterattack from the blue 4 player to regain this ground, and we're seeing a mini version of this right now. The K200s need to be behind the Yevagun though, or they will definitely have trouble here. I mean, yeah, Stu Troopin, AT4, but the mini-me is on, right? So if the Yevagun move up first, these K200s won't be engaged by the Stu Troopin, and they'll be able to stun the Stu Troopin, kill the Stu Troopin, and get a lot of forward progress where we're just not seeing it right now. This counterattack is the best I've seen from the blue 4 player all game. Getting those Habyong 90 in, getting Yevagun in, and still just K200s out in front. And one of the comments that's, oh man, number 2A1 taking some hits. One of the comments from Duck Cheney's mom when he sent this to me was that he was surprised at some of the mistakes that were made, and in terms of that one, I do tend to agree. It's a mistake I make. I'm not a major. Well, I don't want to rag on anybody too much for it, which might surprise you after this replay. I swear, it's a fine line to tread, right? I've been told before that my community casts are way too apologetic. Ooh, that's a Hayate. Yeah, cool. Not able to get the kill. That's unfortunate, but you know where it is now. It's good. And it's a weird thing striking a balance there, particularly because I don't know. As I say, I'm no expert, but I do have a lot more experience than I did back in October of last year when I first started up, and I was still learning unit names, I was still learning all of this stuff, and I don't want to go into the full Dunning-Kruger effect here, but I don't know, some of these things you'll get more assertive comments from me now than you would have before. It's how things change over time, right? Okay, so Golf is capped, Fox is capped, +1 only because of the retreat out of Bravo, but Duck Cheney doesn't need it right now. He is in fact leading. So the impetus for attacking is put back now on the blue 4 major for the first time in a little while. When he had that 80-point lead, I guess, on Duck Cheney's score with 120 points for blue, then it was Duck Cheney's, well, not responsibility, but certainly his requirement to push if he wanted to win the game. And this is that push indeed. 2 planes coming out. Air superiority fighters? Nope, that looks like maybe some sort of... Okay, could just be double KF-16C. Pretty aggressive positioning if they're not chasing anything. Yeah, okay. They're trying to screen the Kiyomaro. That makes sense. It's still really far forward, so be careful about this. If blue 4... Well, if red 4 is this far forward, he's lucky that these are Gepard A1s. If the Hawk Hyoses were farther forward where those Gepards are, at least one of them would have taken a shot by now. And here it is. Kiyomaro Shiki gets up on the high ground. No recon, no screening infantry, and let's see the 13 of L12s. 1, 2... There you go. 170-point super heavy tank killed off the bat. I think it's 170. See, right there I said I know stuff and I'm going to go making a mistake, and that is going to be the final nail in the coffin here for the blue 4 player. Just too big of a gap, I'd say, to really get back, but he is scrapping, right? So Habyong 90 trying to get in here, and Duck and Skrupa will have a good time, but this is certainly, yeah. Think about how effective this has been with just a couple of Yevagun and Habyong 90, and just more Yevagun right now. This is probably a bit of a, you know what, let me just throw militia at you. I've been there before as well. It's just a sort of statement of angst of, well, if I'm going to lose, at least I'm going to lose a little slower. And this is a 5-point infantry. That is command infantry right there, those Hambuhan but the planes going after that escort are going to be able to take him down. So, Deck Cheney's mom does know where that is now. Could follow up the bombing run, not really all that necessary, but it's definitely a possibility. One plane kill there with KWS, looking for a second. KF-16C needs to die. These Hawk-Eoses, man, they have been not that accurate this game. In fact, I think probably a little less accurate than one might expect. Yeah, that KF-16C should probably have been dead. And these guys have a relatively long reload if memory serves, so they're not really going to be able to shoot again. Has to be a little disappointing. Yeah, that's rough. Okay, let's see if Dick Cheney's mom can get back into this zone. Beckons Grupa, by the way, will surprise the heck out of you. I've seen people just stack 4 of these together, and that gets a little expensive. It's about 40 points. But they will actually mulch even high-tier infantry just because of their secondary being able to fire at infantry as well. H1J. Oh, please tell me there's not going to be a late-game desperation helicopter. Oh, man. Oh, I hate this so much. It's just not sporting. You know? It's entirely fair. You know, having things to defend against this. Base defense is a thing in this game. If you don't have it, then this will happen to you, and it's entirely fair play. But that doesn't mean that it's nice play, I suppose. Which, it's Wargame. We're not trying to be nice. Yeah. Everyone thinks differently about it. I've listened to people who say, oh, that just makes you a cheeser, and you shouldn't play the game anymore, and so they're going, well, I mean, it's not like they did anything wrong, and a singular helicopter around the side with 6 minutes left in the game, you should have some base defense up here as well, some ability to respond to it, and Deck Cheney's mom's response with the escort was perfectly appropriate. It worked. You would, yeah, buying a Gepard A1 for the base as well, just excellent 1-2 response there. You could probably argue having a little bit of recon out here by now would be a good thing, but most people won't go that far around. Of course, having said that, I once played somebody who took their entire opener, went this way, came all the way around, and then helicoptered by my home zone, and I tried preparing for that, but most of my points were downfield, and by the time I bought a couple of anti-air pieces, they just weren't enough. There just were too many helicopters coming in. No, it was a short game, shall we say. Escort's looking for the Hanbu Han. Fun trick, by the way, if you just go up and you fire at position, the known position of the Hanbu Han, sometimes you don't have to go looking for their exact position here, and you might get the kill a little faster, but it's a little risky, just because the angle on stuff like that is never really reliable. Helicopters are weird. Helicopters are very strange indeed. Okay, let's get through the last minute or so. I want to show some unit highlights, of course, which, for anyone who sends in their community cast, I will do that for you as well. Always happy to do it. 3730 kills, 2685 losses. Solid, convincing game from Deck Cheney's mom. I guess just my comment from earlier in the game, with this sort of kills to losses ratio, and no offensive from the Red 4 side from Deck Cheney's mom until later in the game, you might be surprised by that, but when it happened, it was convincing and there was no recovering from it. So, very nice, meticulous play there from Deck Cheney's mom. Now, Fallschirmjäger 90, fair number of kills. Let's look for the real standouts, though. 2A1 unfortunately got wrecked. Yeah, for Kenning. This for Kenning did get the Kiyomar Shiki and the Tansam Short Arrow that were in that push, and that is just amazing return on investment there. 65-point stealth tank killing a Kiyomar Shiki. Awesome. F104G with an AH1J and a Ninja, that'll surprise you. 60-point plane, and quite a lot of points in kills. And finally, let's look for what else killed another Kiyomaru. Block 15C OCU did get the kill there on the Kiyomaru, the second one for the Blue 4 player. Okay, well that's going to be all we've got for you guys today. Hope you did enjoy. Wow, I'm stumbling over my words today. And we'll see you again with another game real soon.